quit my job and I say that, hey, I'm going to go work for someone else. When I start working for this particular person, I ask him, hey, listen, where's my visa? He said, I'm not going to be giving you a visa. I had 1 month left in UAE and I really had to figure out what to do.
Meet Neet Bherwani, an IIM graduate whose failed job offer nearly pushed him out of the UAE to founding TNB Podcasting, one of the fastest growing podcast companies in Dubai.
When I was 12, the Syrian war happened. Our home got demolished, bombed. I saw crazy things. We lost a lot of things. I lost my childhood, basically.
Meet Mounir Al Serawan, an award-winning Syrian-Lebanese filmmaker and social activist who now leads TNB Media and Podcasting as Deputy CEO and Creative Director. Two extraordinary stories united by one mission, redefining storytelling.
A podcast is the business of storytelling.
You guys are so different from each other, and yet you gel so well together.
I call myself an accidental entrepreneur. I'm glad I was put in this situation. It pushed me because I didn't have any other option. If I'm a millionaire, I want my team also to be a millionaire.
Working closely with top podcasters like Raafi and Ranveer Allahbadia.
The first podcast I ever saw in my life was Ranveer.
What made him good?
The amount of podcasts Ranveer uploads, it's crazy. He's doing 4 podcasts a week. It's just a game of consistency.
With dreams as powerful as his films, Mounir is on a mission to bring global recognition to Arab storytelling.
I've done 3 major films internationally for trauma healing. My recent film, Arrow 500, that has been screened in Hollywood, just won an award in Stockholm as Best Experimental Film. It's not about the Oscars, it's about bringing the Oscars to the Arab world. No matter what traumas or pressures or struggles or pain you have been through and your heart is shattered, scattered, find the light, let the light shine through those broken pieces.
When adversity strikes, true greatness is born.
There's so many lessons in this story for aspiring entrepreneurs. When the odds are stacked against you, what do you do then?
Money is a cruel mistress. Business owners should be able to say exactly how much money is coming in, how much money is going out.
The world needs people who jump on a higher frequency. Jump, give us, because the world needs us.
This is not just a podcast episode. This is what it means to bet on yourself and change the world with your story. This is Beyond Possible.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Beyond Possible. Raafi here.
And I'm Saad, and I'm really excited to have 2 amazing guests with us today. We've got Neet. Neet has a very inspiring story about coming to Dubai and building a very successful podcast company. We also have Mounir here with us. Mounir has an amazing story coming from war-torn Syria, becoming an award-winning filmmaker in multiple countries. And now he has his eyes set on an Oscar. Welcome to the show.
Thank you guys for having us.
Thank you so much, guys. We are really excited for this episode.
I actually wanted to just jump right into it.
Sure.
So for me, when I kind of look at, honestly, the human race, everything boils down to storytelling. Probably the most important skill set ever, honestly. In any era, I don't care if we're living in AI, historic, being able to communicate a story, being able to pull out a story is so fundamental. And at least, when I came across you guys around this concept of podcasting and I kind of looked into it, ultimately, to me, it just boils down to the art of storytelling. How do you guys tell that story? Or how do you identify that story?
Storytelling is the most important element in our company, is how to tell the story of a human who are building these companies or their experiences or everything. And actually, storytelling is very therapeutic as well. The way you see your story, the way you narrate your story, if you see yourself as a victim or as a villain or as a hero, protagonist or antagonist, everything comes down to a storytelling on how you see yourself and how you narrate your own story.
I completely agree to what Mounir has said. Storytelling has become such an important factor. If you aren't able to tell the most interesting stories, people, they will lose interest in you very quickly, right? And this becomes even more important when you are at high positions in companies. And I'm sure, Raafi, you relate to this. Every CEO, every founder has to say a story, right? Like at the end, everything, you have to make people believe in a vision. That may be crazy, and that can only come out in the form of stories.
Exactly. The first day we met to create this podcast, and you shared with us, you and Saad, your vision, your story of building Facet, of doing all of these things. We jumped on a higher frequency, and we had that much faith and hope in this podcast because the way you narrated your story and you shared with us about Facet. So that's as simple as it is. Like how you narrate your story, how you tell the story makes the people believe in you.
You think about all of the successful brands out there. You think about Uber, you think about Facet, you think about Apple. It's all about storytelling. That's how they drive motivation. That's how they get their audiences. That's how they, make sure that their workforce is driven.
Exactly.
I think that's at the heart of what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Yes, and that also tells now how is the personal branding is what's more trending now, because people want to follow people, like want to know about their stories. Why is it called personal branding? Because it's about you as a person, sharing your goals, your like the problems you are solving, the missions, the potential. So people are getting attached and inspired by people rather than brands or companies. It's all because of the story.
I want to add something over here, and this is a recent observation I did, right? I don't know if you guys have been to the Mall of Emirates. Have you been there? You mentioned about Apple, okay? If you see how Apple as a store is positioned in there, next to Apple, all other luxury brands are there. Apple would never open their store next to a shop which is non-luxury. So next to Apple, you have Armani. In a way that says a story, Apple is luxury. And even people, I think, I'm not an Apple guy, but I know people who once they go Apple, they never go back.
I'm on that as well, to be
And
honest. Yeah.
because that signifies luxury in a way, but I think it says even a bigger story than just luxury. Steve Jobs was truly a visionary when he came on board. What he's built is incredible. While I may not be a fan of Apple, I'm a fan of Steve Jobs because he was an amazing storyteller.
But let me ask you this. You guys have done probably, thousands of podcasts now? Is that what it is? Is it hundreds or thousands?
No, definitely more than like 800. Definitely in the thousands now.
So that... If you've done 800, let's say 1,000, that's probably 10,000 stories that you guys have, directed, produced, been a part of. What stands out to you in a story?
Yes, we've done a lot of podcasts, but every podcast, every person we interview or we work with always leave a print or impact on us. And it's so beautifully overwhelming. The fact that no matter, it's like we don't get used to this job. We don't get bored of meeting people or doing podcasts. Every time we do a podcast with a client or with a person or with anyone, it just leaves a huge human impact and print on us as souls meeting. And it's so beautifully, really overwhelming, is that we never get bored. We never say, wallah, we never see it as a job even. It's always listening to people's story and actually see them talk with passion, and they want to deliver their speeches and they want to do 1 and 2 and 3. And we see the passion in their eyes. It's what also drives us as a podcast company initially to even work more and more and to work with passion. Because we see like the human impact and the print on us and what we also deliver to them.
I look at podcasts as a way of learning. Back in 2020 is when I came across as my first podcast. Normally, when I used to go for runs, I would listen to music. One off time, I was like, okay, let me just listen to this podcast which has come up. I learned more in an hour than I could ever do, and it kept my attention. So for me, what I genuinely enjoy in podcasts among the clients who we work for, or among the guests who come, is when they can share stuff which is actually value adding to the audience who's watching it, right? An audience even could be me and my crew filming at the back, or to the people who are watching. As long as it's value adding, it's helpful, I think I relate a lot to it. And especially my personal favorites are entrepreneurship podcasts. Like when I hear entrepreneurs share their journey, I'm like, I relate to you.
One of the beautiful things about stories is that we all look at the same story from our worldview. So it's a very beautiful thing that on a podcast, we may be hearing the same thing, but it means 2 different things to us, or it means the same thing, as you're saying, it's relatable. So, from that perspective, what is the story how you guys started? Because I've if I were to break down podcasts, I just find it's the business of storytelling, which is, honestly, it's a phenomenal business to have.
It's actually very crazy for me of how we end up together, because I was working with a private TV channel in Dubai that has been 19 years in the industry in Dubai. And I got I don't know if I say headhunted or something by Neet. And we had a meeting and he was discussing with me about the vision of TNB Podcasting and media productions. And we had a meeting and I showed him what I do for the TV or for the government, my previous job as a podcast. And he was like, whoa, that's amazing. That I bring cinema into podcasting. So we had a meeting on Batil Cafe. Shout out Batil. And we just started talking about the vision of TNB Podcasting and media productions and the idea that later on we're going to be our TNB Academy of storytelling, of presenting, and a lot of potentials and hopes. And I still remember that on his phone, the Samsung phone, on his note, he started showing me and taking me through his like visions for over the years and showing that he wants to do a branch of TNB Academy, TNB Media Productions, TNB Podcasting. And I saw the potential and I saw the passion. I was like, damn, I'm falling in love with this company. So I quit my job with a private TV channel as a creative director and joined Neet to be the deputy CEO because I believed in the vision of the company. And we're working so hard. This is I finished 6 months in the company and I've been working day and night. I have been working so hard.
It's only 6 months, yeah?
It's only been 6 months.
Man, you look like you've been there for 6 years.
Oh my God, we have done so much the past 6 months. We've like literally 180 degree of change and improvements. We've improved a lot. We've done a lot of big campaigns, big clients, amazing productions. Films, campaigns, social media, a lot of things in 6 months that it's been an amazing roller coaster.
And what I find fascinating about the two of you is that you guys are so different from each other.
Big time.
and yet you gel so well together.
Exactly.
Like,
I love the chemistry. Yeah.
One of you is like very strict and regimented and has to be very structured. I won't say who. And then the other one is, let's just go with the flow and things will just, fit in place.
It's actually, we're very different, but there's a lot of chemistry. I mean, I'm the drama king in the company. Like, I'm so dramatic. I'm so crazy. I'm so like all over the place, but he's always containing me and like following me and like, okay, let's go for this plan. So I love that he trusts my craziness. And that's what I actually appreciate.
I want to talk about his craziness, right? Every stage of every company, I think a founder realizes that if he has to reach a certain stage, it just cannot be him doing everything, right? He has to bring in an army to help support that, okay? And of course, we are a startup company, right? I have to be very selective of who we can bring in. At that point of time when me and Mounir met, he gave me a critique. He's like, you're expressing yourself a lot. No, don't do that, because he's a director. And then we didn't connect much. And then I put out a post as head of production. We really wanted someone to come and level up the production of the company. There's a genuine belief that I feel that if we keep delivering good quality work, we'll automatically land clients. Because clients, they get bored, right? Clients also, they want new stuff. They want us to see us leveling up. 6 months from now, the client wants to see a next level, right? And that's what I saw with Mounir. I'm not even saying anything else because he brought in cinema to podcast. Where everyone else in Dubai was shooting in podcast studios and stuff, the stuff that we have kind of co-created, we have made spaces look beautiful. There's this one moment, I think, which Mounir really enjoys, right? Where he forgets about work. What is the work which you do where you forget about work is when he looks at the art that he's created in the TV that we have done. We are like, wow, we converted an event and made it look good. We converted a pool table into a podcast setup. We converted a car studio. We shot in between luxury cars and we made it look good. So this is exactly what I love. The way he sees the world is completely different, guys.
I've always wanted to hang out with directors. and I'll tell you why. Because what I appreciate about the entire art of directing, whatever it is that you're directing, is that there's an art of the detail. And man, I can't stress enough on how overlooked the skill of the art of the detail is. And one of the things I love about cinema is that, you go in there and you love to see how minute of a detail is the director directing. So even Mounir just now, he's like, Neet, we met at Batil. You had a Samsung. Man, I love that. And I'll tell you why I love that. I'll tell you why I love it, because actually the question I have for you, Mounir, is, from my daughters all the way to my C-suite, if I could instill one thing, if I could just pick one thing to instill in everyone from my kids all the way to the C-suite at Facet, it's treasure and value the art of the detail. How do you do that? And how do you get others to do that?
So I call it the art of noticing stuff. It's really an art on its own, and it's a blessing in me that I think it's been through my childhood, through a lot of things, but I worked on it to make it as part of my directorial style. Because Raafi, every director, they put a lot of details in their arts or frames or scenes or story or scripts, even if the audience doesn't notice it. They don't care that much about whether the audience might get that detail or not. But the passion of a director is putting that much details in one scene or one frame. And for him or for them, they notice it, they see it, and they hope for someone to see it. So for me, the art of noticing, it's been through my childhood. It's a skill, definitely. It's not like something you were born with. I don't believe that someone was born with something. I believe that someone is skilled and they work on their skill. It's not like something you were born with. So I feel because of my childhood, I was very observant of my parents, of a lot of small patterns, a lot of things. And I had to be very observant, especially in emotions. So it grew up with me to become more of a skill that I'm very, very detail oriented, and I notice a lot emotionally or physically or environmentally. And I used to read books when I was a child. There's this big book called Al-Hads, which is the intuition that I read, and it talks to you about how to notice things within, from your intuition, whether it's internally or physically or environmentally. So it's all related. Once you see a skill inside of you, that you discover it, you have to work on it and nurture it so you can actually become such a strong asset in your personality. So I work a lot on this. I notice a lot. I can go in a room and I just have 3 seconds scan and I can know exactly everything that is happening, what they are wearing, what people are feeling. And it's crazy. And I need only 7 seconds.
Because every time Mounir's in the office, I'm like, man, I got to be on my best. He's noticing every detail. So that energy is felt,
Yeah, it's a curse and a blessing at the same time, because I notice a lot. And sometimes I force myself not to notice or not to feel or not to attach or not to react or not to act on something. So it's a blessing and a curse at the same time, to be honest.
But I'll tell you one thing. I mean, it's the core building block for greatness. There's a great story. Unfortunately, we're in Asia, so people won't resonate with it, but there's one of the great American football players, maybe the best of all time. There's a wide receiver named Jerry Rice. He's played for the San Francisco 49ers. And football, obviously, is a very violent sport. You're on the grass half the time. But his story, and for me, what resonates with this is that obviously he was number one, maybe the greatest ever play. But what he used to do is right before the game started, he would go in front of a mirror and he would say that I would look at my uniform to the extent that, when you tuck in your shirt, there's a bit of a flap that comes over the top of your belt brim. And he would be like, I need it to be just perfect. And the reason that always stuck with me, even as a kid, because, Jerry Rice played in the 90s, is that, man, on the first tackle of the match, his fold of his shirt, of his uniform is going to go messed up. But every time before he stepped out, he would go down to that detail. Forget about the game plan, the strategy, the opponent. He's also going all the way down to how nice is my fold in my uniform in the most violent sport known to man. And it's the art of the detail. You know what I mean? And that definitely, you said a point that the director may or may not care if the audience sees it or not. Same thing for a guy like Jerry Rice. He's like, this fold may not last for more than 5 seconds in the match, but it matters to him and it's part of the ingredients for greatness.
If I may also say something, it's so beautiful to notice stuff. If you take a minute to pause, whether you're driving or in the home or anything, and just look around, actually truly look around, not being distracted or just in a fight or flight system or survival mode. If you truly notice the blue sky of the color of the sky or the green in the plants, or if you look at your hands even, when you have a panic attack and they tell you just look at your hands, count 5 things or something, just because your brain needs to notice this stuff, needs some reassurance and to be calmed down. And that's something I'm very good at. I notice a lot. I force myself and I take a lot of time to notice stuff. Sometimes I even notice stuff in my apartment. I just oh wow, like I didn't step in this, like this 5 centimeters before, like this corner, like whoa. I sometimes force myself to sit in a different corner of the house or sit in a different way and just look at stuff for a moment, and it really affects my brain a lot. Like it grounds me, it recenters me as a human being. It aligns me even like vertically. I really love like just grounding myself by noticing. And I love looking at people's eyes. I know my team sometimes get freaked out or feel awkward, especially Rohit, when I look at their eyes, because I really love looking at people's beauty and look at the eyes. So I love noticing even like the flaws, the scars, the sadness, the pressure, or all of that.
I want to go back to the TNB story. And Neet, your story is really interesting because you came to Dubai, you were working in an industry that you hated.
I hated it, yeah.
And you went from there, you founded a very, very successful podcasting company. How did that happen?
We got to go back a couple years for this. I did my MBA, finished from IIM Kozhikode. It's a premier school back in India. And, there was only one company which was coming over there, which was giving placements abroad. That was here in Dubai. It was in a job I didn't enjoy. It was cybersecurity, but it was in a city I liked, which was Dubai. And it wasn't paying that much, but I still went and gave the interview because I genuinely at that point of time believed that, hey, it's okay. No, it doesn't matter what's the pay you're taking, because Dubai is a place where you will be able to level up. Maybe not in the same job, but maybe you can switch jobs and do that. That was the same year also when the pandemic happened. So my job got delayed by 9 months. UAE was not issuing visas or anything of that sort. During that time, I look at it as a blessing. And I'm not talking about COVID has been pretty bad for families, but personally for me, it gave me a chance to explore the side of me which was always being neglected. I always wanted to be a content creator. I always wanted to create videos and stuff. I'm 9 months sitting jobless. I'm seeing on YouTube how to create videos, how to do that. So that break for COVID actually enabled me to start creating videos, how to edit, how to do videos. And it came to a point where I was thinking, khalas, I don't want to go to Dubai. I'm not even joking. There was a point of time where I thought, because I started uploading videos, I thought I'm going to get 1 million followers in 2-3 months. Naive me, right? Naive me without going.
How long did it take you to get the first million?
I haven't reached 1 million followers yet, but I think 1 million views took a year and a half. And that happened in podcasting. I created other pieces of content. It didn't work. And I think that was validation coming in, right? When the social media platforms validating you. So coming back, I started this job. I was like, oh, khalas, let's go to Dubai. And create content at the site. So now I'm at a job which I hate, but I'm creating content. Okay. My employees are thinking I'm working, but I'm not.
Let's hope they don't watch this podcast.
They would think I am sitting and doing cold calling. I'm just doing the bare minimum. But what I'm actually doing is like trying to write that script, trying to edit the video. Like I used to go to my employer's washroom to edit videos. I'm not joking. Yeah. Because that was the only safe place I could find where no one is going to disturb me. And I had taken up a commitment to upload 1 video a day, during that time. So that's literally, I was like, okay, this is my passion. This is my calling. And just 6 months later, and I resigned. I was like, khalas, it's not happening. I'm not bringing the sales. With my experience in content creation, I got hired as an influencer manager. So to manage influencers, you need to know content creation yourself, right? And a marketing agency hired me to start that division for them, to literally kickstart that division of influencer management. Within a year or two, I think me and my team were managing 500 influencers, guiding them on content, how to do well and stuff. What happened during this time is I connected with a lot of well-known people, influential across TikTok especially. And my network just kept getting better and better. I was getting into better circles, better parties, better events. Even when you're creating content, the whole purpose, like Mounir was telling about personal branding, is can you become that person who people know even before you enter the room, right? And that's the most powerful form of personal branding. If people know, for example, if Elon Musk comes into this room, you'll know Elon Musk even before he comes. He doesn't need an introduction, right? So that started happening to me while people started seeing my content while this job was kind of going on, right? And like I was saying in the past, like I was not getting much success in my own content. I was getting like maybe 5,000 views, 6,000 views. And then I decided, why not like, let's do podcasts, because it was trending back then. This is 2022 around that time. And people had started, like the whole craze was starting. Joe Rogan was becoming popular, lots of podcasting.
Was he the inspiration?
Not him. For me, the inspiration would be Beer Biceps. Ranveer Allahbadia. He's India's #1 podcaster because the first podcast I ever saw in my life was Ranveer's.
What made him good?
I believe it's just regular repetition. The amount of podcasts Ranveer uploads, it's crazy. You guys are doing 2 podcasts a month. He's doing 4 podcasts a week. So that's 16 podcasts
It's just
a
a
month.
game of consistency.
It's just a game of consistency. It's like the more I do something, the more I become better. And I think if with doing a few podcasts, someone can reach that 80%, but to really reach that top 0.00001%, it's just about volume. The more you're putting out, the more you're growing, and that's genuinely secret to success. And we have actually worked with him also. So we shot for Ranveer, and he's our client.
Neet's done his haircut just like him. So
You can tell that you're inspired by him.
I'm heavily inspired by him. Not for I didn't notice about the haircut stuff. The way he interacts with people. We shot a podcast. Do you know Marissa Peer? Marissa Peer is a well-known celebrity therapist. Okay, she's the therapist to the biggest footballers, and she's based out of Dubai. So Ranveer flew down over here to Dubai, and Marissa Peer was one of the episodes that we're shooting with, right? Marissa Peer is meeting Ranveer for the first time. They are a bit away. So what he does is he takes her away and he just asks like, how are you doing? How are you feeling? How's your day going? So just general questions, right? 20 minutes before the episode. And after the episode got over, the 2-hour episode, Marissa Peer comes and hugs him. Now imagine someone who you didn't know 2 hours before. What kind of conversation did you have in that 2 hours that someone becomes so intimate that they're placing their hand on top of you? It's almost like a connection of 5 years is formed in that 2. So
how does he do that though?
I can tell you. Okay, Ranveer, he's a very good listener. Like he actually listens and he knows how to get more of the guest that he's interviewing. And he has an amazing welcoming energy. I'm pretty sure, so he told me he's a very spiritual person. And because he's very spiritual, he has a very welcoming energy. So he's very open person. And when you talk to him, you feel safe. You feel you are safe, present, listened, like he's actually listening and getting to know you. So when I spoke with him, and I hugged him several times, I can also feel his energy. He's very safe, open-minded person, like a safe energy as well. So that's one of the things that actually makes the guest feels more welcome to say more and to dive deep. I actually cried twice in Marissa Peer episode. I cried myself, like in the episode, me being directing and listening and to the conversation of how good it was, the conversation, how deep it is. And he's very good in listening and redirecting questions and getting to know more out of you and get more of you. So he's very good in that energy.
I remember one of the things that you always talk about is that, you know when the conversation is good, when the people having the conversation forget that their cameras in front of them.
Absolutely.
So Ranveer was the inspiration when you started podcasting, right?
Absolutely.
Now, I've heard that you have a tattoo which says 139.
Correct.
Curious to understand, like, is there a significance of that number? What's the story behind that?
Absolutely. I got this tattoo when my first reel became viral, first podcast reel became viral, right? So you can literally see I live and breathe podcasting. That's what the heartbeat kind of shows. Because like, again, thing one, it didn't feel like work to me. It felt like, again, it is a point of time, just like you said, I was just getting into it and I love having conversations. I love learning from people. I'm always inviting people who are way better than me, so that I get to learn from them. TNB stands for the name of my show, the Neet Bherwani show. And this arrow over here stands for just keep on pursuing podcasts. You will eventually find success in it and don't give up along the journey. This was 2022 while I was still in this job. This is the first tattoo. This is in a way as a manifestation that came true.
This was the beginning.
This was the beginning.
Yeah.
This was the first tattoo. And then I want to add a story over here so that it makes sense to you. Around this time is when I was also trying to convince my manager at my current company to start looking at podcasts, right? I'm like, hey, listen, I have gotten some success. Let's start doing podcasts for CEOs. Let's start doing podcasts for brands. And he runs a marketing agency.
This is the same company where you were at.
In the influencer management division.
Okay.
But I wanted to shift away from influencer management to the podcast. I was like trying to get him on this, right? But the vision was not aligned. He wanted me to focus on influencers, gamers, etc. I started searching for jobs at this particular point of time and I got a job for a leading podcaster in UAE. Okay. I was like, khalas, he's giving me a job. The pay is not as much. Again, I wasn't going behind pay. I was going behind my passions. I was like, okay, let's go for the job. Let's quit this. So I resigned this job. I let this job go and I say that, hey, I'm going to go work for someone else. When I start working for this particular person, I ask him, hey, listen, where's my visa? I've left my job. He said, I'm not going to be giving you a visa. So I left my...
And you'd quit your
I quit my
other
job. I quit my job and then he gives me this thing and then he's like, okay, I'll let you know about it. I'll discuss, So this is not what I expected. I was like, hey, listen, I quit a job which is paying me better than what you're paying me right now. And for me to come and realize I don't have a visa, I probably have to pay for my own visa. And so this particular point of time was when I was like, khalas, thank you. I had 1 month left in the country, 1 month left in UAE around that time, and I really had to figure out what to do. There was only one thing which I knew, which was podcasting. So I started approaching people. Hey, listen, I did podcasts. I shot it with my phone. I used to shoot with my phone that time. I was like, I found some success. Some of my reels got like 1 million views here and there. I can do this for you. I can bring the guests for you. I can script for you. I can shoot for you. I can edit for you. And that's how we got one client after another.
This is amazing, right? Because I don't know if you believe in destiny, but if you weren't put into that situation where you'd quit your job, you were in a new place, we didn't have a visa, you were forced to start something, maybe we would never be having this conversation today.
Yeah, wow, exactly.
I look at it as a blessing. And to this date, this guy, whenever he sees me, he always says, Neet, I'm so sorry I did this to you. I'm like, thank you for doing it for me. Thank you for not giving me a visa. Because honestly, I call myself an accidental entrepreneur. If this wouldn't have happened, I would have taken a safe route. I'm glad I was put in the situation. And yeah, like it just pushed me because I didn't have any other option at that point of time. So yes, from one client and then from then we got another client. Now we have generated over 250 million views across our podcast client. Ranveer Allahbadia is one of the clients we work with, but also we work with Raj Shamani, who's another big podcaster, multiple government entities helping them in their podcasts and stuff. Now, 139.
Yes.
This is
why 139?
Okay, cool. 139 is the second tattoo I have over here. Okay. This was, I think since the first manifestation became a reality, right? Like keep pursuing podcasts, you'll always find success. I was like, okay, khalas. If I have to put something, it has to be something meaningful. 139 stands for, I've always been fascinated with becoming a millionaire, or at least making $1 million. It's been a childhood ambition, or maybe Dubai did this to me. I don't know, right? When you come over here in the region. So 1 stands for making $1 million. That was what my company's aim is. That's what I really hope. And I'm sure with Mounir, we are going to hit this target this year. Okay, we made 1.3 million dirhams. So we've done million in dirhams last year. That was our overall revenue. But this year we're going for 3.7 million dirhams or $1 million. And that's why I hope we both can work together for this and make it happen. That's our big goal. 3 stands for having 3 lines of businesses. So yes, we have started with podcasting, but with Mounir's help, we have also expanded into media production. We are not just doing podcasts right now. We are also directing music videos, shooting big budget commercials, right? So that's where we have stepped in. And the 3rd line of business is influencer management. So it's like literally 3 lines of businesses. That's what 3 stands for. 9 stands for a personal goal of mine, which is to reach 9 figures or $100 million in 9 years' time. So I've given myself a long-term goal of reaching that. So that's what 139 stands for. I hope I've answered your question.
Phenomenal.
And it sounds like you guys are pretty much on track to hit those.
Inshallah.
It's a tough job, but inshallah. For me, I don't care about the money, to be honest. I just want to be financially stable and safe. But I know he wants to be a billionaire. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll help you to be a billionaire, bro. Khalas. I swear, like the whole time I tell him on WhatsApp, it's like, Wallah, I'll help you to be a billionaire. Khalas, don't worry.
No, but,
Munir shrugging his shoulders at billionaire.
no, but I also believe
that's-
something I keep telling him when he says, Neet, I'll help you be a billionaire. I'm like, bro, it's not just going to be me in the journey, right? I'm going to take my team along with me. And I really want, if I'm a millionaire, I want my team also to be a millionaire, because again, I strongly believe that it's going to take a ship. It's going to take a freaking army to build something that massive to reach that particular number. And yeah, inshallah, we
And
build it.
there's so many lessons in this story for people who are aspiring entrepreneurs. So many lessons in terms of, when you're up against a wall, what do you do then? When the odds are stacked against you, what do you do then? Mounir, you have a very different story. So I read your blog.
Oh, wow.
And
You read the whole thing?
It was very, very inspiring.
You read the whole thing?
I read the whole thing, of
Oh,
course.
wow.
I gotta read it, man, to be honest with you.
It's very, very inspirational.
Really, yeah?
You have to check it out. One thing that really struck me was you were 12 years old. You had to leave Syria and you had a teddy bear with you called Hope. Want to share a bit of your story? with
Yeah.
us?
So when I was 12, we didn't have anything. We just moved. We migrated to Lebanon. So I had 12
Where were you born in Syria?
in Damascus. I was born in Damascus, and I spent some of my childhood in Damascus. But when I was 12, the Syrian war happened, and we lost our home. So our home got demolished or bombed, and we emigrated a lot within Syria, and we suffered like it was a very crazy
What year was this?
2011 to 2012. It's been a crazy year on us. We lost our home. We were traumatized. My mom was pregnant. We lived a crazy year, like undescribable year. I saw stuff that I shouldn't see as a child. Like, I don't know if I should even say them because I saw crazy things. Like I saw corpse on the ground. I had to pass through corpse on the ground. I saw crazy things. We lost a lot of things. I lost my childhood basically. And then we migrated a lot within Syria. Then my dad like kind of panicked on us after we lost everything. So he sold whatever we have in Syria. Although I come from a very poor family, and my dad had to work so hard to give us like a decent life. And when we had that decent life, we lost it. So he sold whatever we had, and we immigrated to Lebanon. We went to Beirut for 6 months, and then Beirut was expensive on us. So we went to the south of Lebanon, which is in Saida. And I spent most of my life in Saida. Like I took almost 13 years of my life in Saida. So I consider myself half Lebanese. I'm so grateful for Lebanon.
It's funny you mentioned that, and I just realized I'm way older than you, man. Because in December 2010, significantly less dramatic way as yours, I also lost my apartment in Syria. I don't know if you know this.
Oh,
So in December 2010, I went to Damascus, put a 1-year rent down for a small little apartment. And I just came back I was living in Jordan at the time. So I just came back, and then the war broke out and actually lost all my, whatever stuff I had. Because I was supposed to come back for like 2 hours. It's 45 minutes to the border. And I never could go. But one thing I realized in Syria, which I wanted to pick your brain on, is that obviously it's one of the most spiritual places on the planet. It's the blessed land. And genuinely, in the many times before the war that I had gone to Damascus, it's some of the most beautiful people on earth. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. And what I wanted to ask, man, is that we are living in a very strange time, right? And I'm grappling with this with my own team. But when I see people like you, it gives me hope. And I'll tell you why. Because we just lived through an era, which I think is changing, where talking religion, talking spirituality had become taboo. Now, recently I've been seeing articles, like for example, there was a great article the other day on Vanity Fair saying that the new religion in Silicon Valley is Christianity, right? There was another article the other day that more and more Gen Z is for the first time flipping the trend of adopting a religious view, saying that we actually ascribe to this religion and we're looking into it. And I was reading the article and they said that, part of it is because people are lonelier. There's more chaos happening in the world, right? And people want to grab onto something that is, effervescent, right? And that is more permanent. That is greater than what we are. And what I want to ask you is that, you talk about spirituality a lot. I hear spiritual energy. Where does that come from? And why do you think, as with your director hat on, we live in an era that even with my own team, even with my own guys, they feel shame. Quite frankly, I'll be very honest with you, and it hurts me. They feel shame in talking even about our religion that we all share. You know what I mean? And I'm like, why, man? Like when I hear, the last point is when I hear that Silicon Valley's religion is Christianity, it makes me happy. Because when people of faith come together, the world becomes a better place. But I feel that that's been devoid. But when I meet people like you, that's renewed. So what can we do?
At some point of my life, I was actually ashamed even to pray in front of people, like because I was always surrounded by different religions or different religious point of views and stuff. So at one point, I was literally ashamed of praying, or wallah, excuse myself to pray, or people see me praying, or me being because I'm Muslim. So like me being Muslim or religious in front of people made me feel sometimes ashamed or scared.
It was taboo.
Yeah,
let's
and
be
it's
honest.
so sad. Like, why would I be ashamed
That's
to
right.
practice my own religion?
That's right.
So for a few period of my time, I was actually not praying. I didn't pray. I didn't focus on my religion a lot, and I noticed that there's been a lot of internal struggles and chaos inside of me, and that's my own perception. But when I was away from my religion, I was living in a chaos, internal chaos. I was suicidal, a lot of intrusive and dark thoughts. I wasn't happy. I read a book called The 40 Rules of Love. It's a Sufi book for Jalaluddin Rumi, Shamsuddin Tabrizi, and I cried for 3 days straight. It's 600 pages. I finished the book in 3 days, 600 pages. I cried day and night. I felt like I have found myself. I have found my path again, or my religion, or whatever I believed in. And that book changed my life, like literally Raafi and Saad. That book changed my life and actually saved me. And since that day till now, I'm proud to say that I'm actually religious. A lot of people from my age, they're not religious. Like a lot, especially my circle of artists and crazy creative people. Everyone has their own way of praying or spirituality. But for me, like, I'm like, no, I'm very spiritual, but I'm also very religious. Like I love being like this, because some people are spiritual, but they don't have religion. I'm like, okay, how do you practice real spirituality? It's through religion. This is the tool. I mean,
It's the framework. That's right.
You could have your own religion. You can pray however you want, but you have to believe in the religion, because it's out there. Like, you believe in energy and so on. So that book changed my life. It made me like recenter on like certain path, and I'm proud to say like actually I pray. I take time to pray. I'm actually religious. Sometimes I avoid certain settings or groups or whatever to protect myself as a Muslim, and I'm proud to say that. And I agree. I understand what you're saying, because it is now like this. A lot of people are ashamed to go into religion or spirituality, or they feel like it's not trendy, or it's not wallah something that we need. But some people now, especially Gen Z, yes, they need something to hold on and to be. A lot of crazy things happen in the world, and for me, life is sad. Like I don't see life as something positive. I mean, honestly, for me, I feel like life is tough and sad and harsh, and it's so overwhelming. So we need Allah, we need faith to help us survive this life. That's my point of view, to be honest. Yeah.
No, that's you say Rumi. Rumi has this great saying. He's like, the day of my death is my wedding night, right? So he has that same vibe. I can see that heaviness, which is in a good way. You know what
for
I mean?
me, honestly, I it's so crazy for me to say this now publicly out loud, but I always tell my closest friends that I love death, and I'm so excited to die and to go to that journey, to meet God, to go into that world, to detach my soul from my physical temple. I really think of this a lot about like going into that journey, into the next life. There's a lot of deep stuff about this, and I think I'm alone. I live alone at my home, so I only have myself and Allah. Like in khilwa, in Arabic we say it khilwa. So I'm always in solid alone with God and thinking and talking to God. Even when I sleep, I tell him, God, please hug me, let me sleep. So I tell him, I ask Allah, please hug me, let me sleep. I want to sleep. This is how I actually maintain my sanity as a human being, honestly.
I'm curious, you're an artist and you do many forms of art. How does that kind of fit in, especially given some of the childhood stories that you shared with us, the trauma that you went through? Did art help you cope with some of that?
Well, definitely art definitely saved me as well to heal myself from my traumas, because I had a terrible childhood. I hate my childhood, and that's just a fact for myself. I've been to therapy. I've done therapy for years, for a year and a half with a therapist in Beirut. But I hate my childhood. That's just a fact in my life. I forgave myself for it. I'm moving, I'm healing, I'm moving forward, but I don't like it. So at 15, when I was 15, I was still suffering from PTSD, from the trauma of the war. And so like it took me some time to get out of the PTSD. But when I woke up, so for me, I tell my friends that I was born when I was 15. Because before 15, I was just living a sad, shitty, terrible childhood and life. And I say I was born at 15. So for me, that day when I was started to get into photography and videography and journalism and design and cinematography and films and all of these forms of arts and theater, it all saved me to express the trauma out loud, to say it out loud, to have the courage to say it out loud, to say, Wallah, I have been through war, I have been through domestic violence and abuse and harassment and sexual abuse. All of these arts helped me to actually be saved, to heal, to let go of the past and the weight of the past and being ashamed of having been through all of this. And I say my innocence was stolen from me as a child, my purity, my innocence, because of these traumas. And art saved me. I've done 3 years of theater, 4 years of classical ballet, with 1 year of opera singing. I've done acting for films. I studied film productions and TV in the university. I've been working as a film director for 10 years. I've done 3 major films internationally for trauma healing for people. My recent film, Aero 500, that has been screened in Hollywood and in Stockholm and Rome. By the way, I just won an award in Stockholm as best experimental film, like literally a week ago. I got the news. All of these films are for the purpose of helping me heal as a human being and also invite others to heal from their traumas and from their past, and so they can recover, accept, let go, and live a life of light, of peace. I want to just mention one more thing before I want to mention something very important that is actually my dream of doing it. I want to do a film to invite all 8 billion people on this earth to understand what is being a Sufi or what is true Islam. I don't like the Islam that we see on the news or we see on social media. It makes us look like we are villains. It's called Islam, peace, salam. And it makes us look so bad. I swear, Raafi and Saad, my whole life, like ever since I read the 40 Rules of Love, I was always saying, and I asked God to help me with this mission. I want to create a very powerful 2 hours film, a feature film that shows the world how does it feel to be spiritual? How much power it gives you being spiritual? How much peace, inner peace and inner power and grounding and centering and uplifting to be spiritual and to find to see the true Islam that at least I feel, that I follow at least. That's really one of my missions as a director. Like once I have the fund or what I have the power or the resources, it's really one of my greatest missions. And I ask God to help me through this, to create a very powerful film that anyone watches, get to know the true religion of Islam, the true feeling of being spiritually Muslim. Not wallah just being like so conservative and just looking like this, like through this very tiny, narrow tunnel. No, to open up basirtak, al-basira, to open up, to see the true faith, the true al-ashq al-ilahi, the true love, loving life and loving yourself through this tool, which is the faith. One more thing I have to say. Sorry, I'm speaking so much, but there's this beautiful Japanese concept. It's called kintsugi. It's this amazing Japanese concept. So kintsugi is the art of shining light and finding hope and light and love through the broken pieces in your heart. So no matter what traumas or pressures or struggles or pain you have been through, and your heart is shattered, scattered, it's broken. So kintsugi is inviting, is an invitation of find the light and let the light shine through those broken pieces, so it can shine on yourself and among others, on others as well. And that's the true meaning of being spiritual or faithful or recovering or healing, is to find beauty in the pain that you have lived. So at least you can live peacefully and let others also live in peace.
I love that.
Love it, man.
I love that.
Love it.
When I read your story, I was very inspired, but just hearing it firsthand, it just drives home the point. There's so many things that we take for granted that we shouldn't. And you've been through it all, right from your childhood. And despite the fact, you've been through all of those things, you've been so successful in everything that you're doing. It's very, very inspirational. Now you set your eyes on an Oscar. Is that the end goal, or do you think that's an outcome of the work that you're doing?
I know it's a crazy goal, but it's not about the Oscars, because the Oscar is very American thingy. It's the idea that I want to prove to the West that Arabs can reach there, can do this. This is nothing for us, because so the Oscar has been like 98 years since established. And there is not much Arabs who won the Oscar. And that makes me sad and wonder why the Arabs didn't get exposed or nominated or awarded at the Oscars, while we have crazy amount of talents and passion. And we're so good in the cinema industry. A Lebanese student film is amazingly directed and cinematographed and put among other than feature films in Europe. Like if you see the amount of talent in Lebanon, because I worked in Lebanon, I grew up in Lebanon. If you see the amount of crazy talents, I swear, from a student film in the university in Lebanon, you say, whoa, Arabs can and should reach the Oscars. For me, it's not just about the Oscars, it's about bringing the Oscars to the Arab world. I want to bring it to us. The World Cup, when the Morocco was playing and we wanted to get the World Cup. It's not just about the World Cup, but because there is a potential in the Arab world. I want to get the Oscars to the Arab world to show them that we deserve it. Not to prove to them, but because we do deserve it as Arabs. There's a crazy amount of talent and potential.
Absolutely.
Completely agree. And it's interesting because we talk about this, but from a slightly different perspective, which is there's so many Western brands that you will find over here, but how many brands from the region are there that are truly global in nature? Can you think of any? Wow. Emirates could be one.
Huda Beauty.
Huda Beauty, I think, is another one, right? But you can literally count them on your fingertips.
See, exactly. That's the point. And one of your facet podcasts that you've done, and you talked about this, that also makes me sad. It's like, why? We are crazy talented.
So much talent.
From all of the countries, not just the Arabs, even Pakistan, India, Asia, Malaysia, all of these countries were crazy talented. I swear to God. Why is it only being spot on the West and Europe and America?
Part of it is exactly what we talked about, man. Now, going back to this example, Christianity is cool again in America. And now we will follow that and say, hey, it's okay. But why are we? It starts with shame. We're ashamed. So it's better to acknowledge that and take a step forward.
One of the things that I coach my students, or when I do public media coaching, is that I tell them, don't be ashamed to show your true potential and to your talents. Shine on yourself and others. Find your full potential. Seek it. Expose it. Be true to who you are. Show it boldly. Who are you? And be proud of where you come from, who you are, what talents you have. Dive deep into yourself, find your true potential and your true talent. Jump on a higher frequency as a human being and give us, because the world needs us. The world needs people who jump on a higher frequency and seek and work and thrive. That's how we grow. us sitting like this, me knowing you guys and us working all together, this is how we actually moves like 0.1% better to this the potential that we have. Like we grow each other. This is how we make each other grow.
So one thing that's really interesting about making things better is if you think about the TNB podcasting, right? You started off with the talking head format. Now you're pivoting a bit. It seems like you're focusing a lot more on short form content because that's what's trending. How do you keep pace with what's happening in the industry? And what's the next big thing after a short form video?
So short form video is, of course, still going to keep continuing, right? It's not going to go because people's attention spans are dying. You know, as much as we want to, they like content which is quick, get to the point. You know, no one likes taking meetings, even like watching a video even for 10 minutes anymore. They prefer like 5 minutes and stuff. So short form will always be there. What I see as new trends in short form is people adopting AI to create short form videos, which is already happening. AI has been there, but I see a lot of creators nowadays, especially people who are incredibly busy, leverage AI, use AI avatars of themselves and start creating videos, because this is especially very valid for founders, entrepreneurs. People are incredibly busy. All they have to do is just get the AI trained on their visual, get the AI trained on the audio, and that's it. Whatever's the most
we'll
relevant
see
way.
an AI version of Raafi pretty soon on video.
I don't know if the world is ready for that. to be
It's
honest.
very, very important, especially for people like Raafi, because if you guys know, Raafi is very busy.
That's true,
Whenever
kind of.
you work with him, we barely get 2 hours, and you can acknowledge the
For
same,
sure.
right? So this is a trend that we 100% see. Long form is also becoming very important at the same time. If you are able to hook people with your short form content and take them to long form. So short form is important to take people to the long form, because yes, short form is important, but short form is also very forgetful. When you're watching the reels, right? Like I don't think if you saw like 20 reels yesterday, you wouldn't remember most of the reels. But if you see a long form video, that recognition is
Memorable.
there. It's memorable.
Yes.
You would have been like, okay, in this particular podcast, this particular person said this. It's more long. So if you can use short form and get people on long form. So I'm recommending people to start long form, because that is where true authenticity comes in. You know, it's a much harder journey to make that through short form content. Yes, use short form to hook people and take them to long form.
What's the most memorable piece of content you've ever seen?
I saw a reel recently, which really, I showed this to Mounir as well recently. And sometimes you're scrolling through reels, but these are some reels which just leave an impact in you, right? And I'm going to tell you that, because for me, that's what I'm saying, right? I've forgotten all the other reels. The most recent reel I saw, it was saying something about money. It was like, money is a cruel mistress. If you don't pay attention to money, like how much money you exactly have. Like right now, all of us should be able to say exactly how much money is up in our bank balance. Business owners should be able to say exactly how much money is coming in, how much money is going on. And that particular reel left an impact in control of my finances, because that is very, very important. Because Dubai, as great it is, it's also easy to quickly spend. We are purchasing a lot of equipment. You'll continuously see us getting more and more equipment. Wait for the next shoot, guys. We're going to have mics coming from the top. But at the same time, all this is costing us money, and I want to spend and actively track that more. So that's the most memorable reel for me at the moment.
Is there anything you want to share with the audience before we wrap this up?
I'm just going to talk about the biggest learnings I have gotten. Top 3 learnings. Number 1, the journey of entrepreneurship is so beautiful. And I recommend more and more people to take that up, because you're never going to work as hard on your own business. You would never work as hard on someone else's business as you would work on your own business. Number 2, if life does get better, I think some people, when they come to Dubai, they think it's very expensive and all that stuff, right? Like sometimes I've even seen people convert the dirhams to the rupees and all that stuff. I would recommend people to stop doing that, let's not look at converting. Dubai is a place where you can make a lot of money. A lot of money is here, provided you can provide the right value. If you provide the right value, money will automatically come and find you. So I think this is the 2 things I would just like to recommend. Start entrepreneurship, and money is easy to make. Time is not. And with that money you make, buy back your time, because that's the most important thing. That's all I would like to leave the audience with.
I want to say that with with companies and people like you, I feel you guys are like the lighthouse of a lot of people, for a lot of people. And I'm really, truly in support for you guys, like no matter what, no matter how. I feel empowered when I sit with you guys. And that's really a blessing for me, and I'm sure to your team and everyone. And I always tell Saad that I really admire him. Like I adore, and that's publicly. I
It's
admire
Professor Saad. Professor Saad.
So 2 tattoos, 1 Oscar dream, and a shared mission. Gents, I have learned so much from you today. It's been absolutely inspirational. Thank you so much for being here.
It's our pleasure. It's honestly a pleasure.